Welcome back to Miniature Game Montage and our first Armada battle report. And no, this is not Star Wars Armada, this is Mantic's version of Armada, and they have collaborated with Warlord Games with a rule set based on Black Seas. And the setting coming from Mantic's fantasy world of Pannithor. Today, the Basileans, which is the angelic faction, will take on the Orcs in our first game. So this will be the first game for both of us. We're going to be learning the rules. If you happen to know Armada or have any feedback, feel free to leave it in the comments below. You know I will respond and use that, of course, to get better. And if you'd like to see a review about this, be sure to leave that in the comments below. I would be more than happy to give you my impressions of this set. This is the starter set that you'll be seeing today. Apologies for the paint jobs, as really painting ships just isn't my thing, and I ended up just slapping a bunch of paint on them so we could go ahead and play the game. Onto the list, and the Basileans have an Aloe with boarding nets. They have a gun brig with boarding nets. Then they have another Aloe with the Brew of Strength, which I will explain when we get there, as well as boarding nets. And then we have a Gur Panther with boarding nets and Master Gunner. In total, the list clocks in at 100 points. Over for the Ram-happy Orcs, their ships were a bit more expensive. We have just a standard Hammer Fist. We then have a Blood Runner, followed by another Hammer Fist. That's 3 medium ships and 1 small ship that is a bomb boat. One of those Hammer Fists will have the Brew of Strength. In total, this list clocks in at 100 points. Today we'll be playing the scenario Maritime Patrol, where both sides will be trying to inflict as much damage on their opponents before returning to port. The wind will be starting out of the east, and all ships will be at battle speed, and this game will last for 8 turns. At the end of the game, both players will total up all the point values, including upgrades of their opponent's ships that have been destroyed or surrendered, to get their final score. I will do my best to explain this game and the rules as we go, so you can first and foremost catch my errors, and to help you decide if this is a game that you would like or not. So without further ado, we'll get off to turn 1. Alright, turn 1 is underway, and priority takes place by the way that the wind hits the ships. Coming from the east, it touches this Basilean Aloe first. He moves up 5 inches. He is going to turn and then move another 5 inches, and he will launch a shot from the front cannon. This medium ship has 1 light cannon in the front. A quick check with the arc sight to make sure that it is in the front arc, and the cannon shot goes off at long range, needing a 7. The shot misses and plummets into the sea. My son will be playing the Orcs today and moving forward with the bomb boat 3 inches. It is a smaller ship, but much slower, and he is going to take his shot here mid-step out of the front arc. And he will be targeting that Basilean Aloe that just activated, and this indirect shot will need 8s, and it will connect, and it will do D6 damage. We roll that out, and it's only 1. The bomb boat then turns to the left and will finish its movement, moving 3 inches forward. The Basilean gun brig activates next, moves forward 4 inches, and it's going to shoot out of the front arc. It does have 1 cannon firing at the bomb boat, and firing with the indirect cannon at -2, so an 8 will be required to hit the bomb boat. It fails, and that shot is going to scatter, so we're going to roll out a D6 to find out where. It's coming back at me, but how far? 5 inches means it just drops into the ocean. The gun brig then takes a turn port side and moves forward 4 more inches. The Hammer Fist activates next, and our first tactical error of the game, it moves up and it's going to collide with the smaller bomb boat, and they're going to take evasion tests. And if one of these passes on a 5 up, then there won't be any damage that's done. The first one fails, and then rolling up for the Hammer Fist, also needing a 5, it's going to fail. So he is going to pivot out of the way, and we're going to roll for damage. Now, since the gunboat is smaller, there'll be 2 D10s coming out for that, and 1 coming out for the Hammer Fist. The Hammer Fist in green, only 2 damage there, but 13 damage going onto the bomb boat. That equals its nerve value. So one more damage and that ship will be crippled. Back over to the Basileans, the wind will activate this next Eloi. It moves up 5 inches. It is going to turn to the starboard side and then move 5 more inches forward, and then it is going to fire shots down the broadside. Now, when you get these ships lined up like this in your broadside where you can fire straight down the ship, you can do massive damage. At range, 3 shots going out, needing 7s to connect. 1 of these light, 2 of them with heavy cannons, and all of these are going to miss. The Orc Bloodrunner activates next. It will move forward 4 inches. It will do a hard pivot to the port side, moving forward another 4 inches, bringing broadside guns to bear against the Basilean gun brig. Two heavy cannons fire, needing 7s due to long range. 1 connects, and that heavy cannon does 2 damage to the gun brig. The Gur Panther then activates, moves forward 5 inches. He is going to pivot to the starboard side, move up 5 more inches, and that will bring the Orc Bloodrunner into broadside range, and he is going to unleash a heavy and light cannon, just needing 6s here, which is the standard to hit. Those cannons fire out of the port side, and both are going to miss. And back over for the Orcs, the last Hammer Fist will activate. We know they love to ram things, and unfortunately they are ramming their own ships right now. As you can see here, there's contact with another one of their ships, so we are going to have to take skill tests to find out if these ships can evade. They're going to be looking for 5s here, and both ships get the test. The first one fails, and the second one is going to be a pass. And because that skill test was passed, that Hammer Fist will be allowed to pivot before hitting the ship, and then it can finish out its remaining movement action, which it does, and that is going to bring his broadsides up to fire against the Basilean Eloi. This is short range, 2 light cannons and 2 close quarter cannons going out, and 3 connect in total. 6 damage from the close quarter cannons and 1 from the light, means 7 total damage going onto that ship. And that will bring turn 1 to a close. Hopefully we played that right. We know that future turns are going to get even more interesting as we're about to see some potential boarding actions as well as ships beginning to ram each other. So turn 2 getting ready to come up, wind roll going out now. And the result of the wind roll is going to be a 9. That's no change in the wind. It will continue to come in from the east and activate this gun brig first. It is going to move up, and then notice it cannot get either of these ships in the front arc with its indirect cannon. So it will bear to the port side to the left and move up, and it will fire as she bears, which is a fire mid-move step. And the crew, not ready to take the shots, they man the guns and fire into the gunboat. Now there is a -2 penalty to this, making it an 8, but one of them is a critical on this 10. So we are going to roll out 2d6 to find out what kind of damage this crit will do, and it's going to be minor structural damage on a 6. It is d3 plus 1 damage, and that is going to be 4 additional damage going on to that bomb boat, and that is going to be enough to sink the ship. The wind is going to activate the Hammer Fist next, returning to battle speed. It moves up, and it will fire from the cannon in the front at the gun brig, attempting to do some damage. It is going to miss, however, and then turning to the right, he is going to move forward and attempt to ram the gun brig. And moving that ship into contact, the Basileans will attempt to evade on a 4-up. We missed this earlier. It's actually, you get a +1 on the evasion roll for your skill test. They still fail, so 2 d10s will come out for the Hammer Fist and 1 d10 coming out for the gun brig. And it's 2d10. The Orcs have a special rule called Ram where they add 2 to that. So rolling the 2 d10s for them, they will do 12 damage to the gun brig plus 2, so 14 total damage going onto the gun brig from the Ram. And then coming back onto the gun brig, they're going to roll from the gun brig, they roll up a 9 going onto the Hammer Fist. The Hammer Fist then attempts to grapple. They throw out ropes trying to grab the gun brig, and the boarding nets on the gun brig will make this a 6 on the test. It fails. The wind then moves down to activate the Eloi. It moves up 5 inches and will attempt to fire out of the front at the Orc Bloodrunner. And this shot only needing 6s, and it will fail, so the Alohi will turn to the starboard side and continue its movement 5 more inches, just narrowly missing the rock and bringing the Orc Hammer Fist into the broadside. So the port side cannons open up with a light, 2 heavy, and 1 close quarter cannons, and they only need 6s to hit here. We have 2 criticals that go through. One of the heavy cannons in blue just hits for 2 damage, but we're going to roll out the 2d6 on this first critical to see what more it does to this ship, and it looks like minor structural damage on this 6. That will be D3 plus 1 damage. So rolling out that D3, it is going to be a 2, 3 more damage going onto that ship. And then rolling out for the next one here, 2d6 again, and the result this time is a 3. That is going to be something that's hit the engine / sails of the ship that's turning that big hammer, and we're going to roll this out. It is going to be d6 plus 2, so 7 more damage going on to the hammer fist. So 17 total damage is taken on the ship, and the speed will be reduced to steady from battle speed. The Blood Runner activates next, moves forward, and he'll let loose a shot from the front cannon, close quarter shot, needing 5s at close range, and that shot will miss. He will then continue forward until he makes contact with the Alohi ahead of him. The Alohi is going to take an evasion test, which is a skill test. They will add +1, easily going to pass on this 6, just needed a 4, so that Blood Runner will veer off due to the evasion, but he is going to attempt to grapple. And normally needing a 5 due to being a regular crew, the boarding nets makes it a 6. That 1 will fail, and the activation will end. The Gur Panther then moves up, makes contact with the ship, and an evasion test will need to be taken, needing a 4 to pass. And that's good. He would pivot to the left, but we are going to go ahead and roll for a grapple to see if he can grab that ship, and he will. Normally needing a 5, this grapple on this 6 is going to be good. He's going to pull that ship in. And the Alohi has a crew strength of 4 against the Blood Runner's 3, so 4 will be rolled out, and base is a 6. Because they grappled this turn, that will give them a +1, so that they need 5s on 4 dice. And we roll those out, and it looks like only 1 will go through. That's only 2 damage going onto the Blood Runner. The Blood Runner is going to roll out with a crew strength of 3, and the Orcs needing just a standard 6, and all of these are going to miss on these 5s. And I got just a bit confused on the names previously. This is the Gur Panther moving up with its standard move. And after my turn to the port side, I realized that I'm sailing straight towards an island. That's going to spell trouble. I'm going to fire as she bears at the hammer fist that I'm passing by. Normally needing 6s, but fire as she bears is a -2, but I am short range, so +1, 7s. 1 goes through with the heavy, it's 2 damage. And then I finish my movement forward, heading straight towards trouble. The Hammer Fist then activates, returning to battle speed, moving forward, and it looks like he is going to fire broadside shots at the Gur Panther that is headed towards the island here. And this is going to be close quarters, just needing 5s, and all of these are going to miss, a lot of 4s and a 2. The crew will go ahead and man the other guns as well, firing broadside at the Alohi that is close by as well. Again, just needing 5s due to close range, and unfortunately those dice are going to miss as well. The Hammer Fist will then turn the wheel to the starboard side and finish out his movement. There will be a grapple attempt on the passing Alohi, which fails, and that brings turn 2 to a close. The Basileans have achieved first blood by bringing down the Orc bomb boat. Lots of ramming going on, but the Orcs unable to get the gun brig tied up on the left flank. There are some ships tied up in the middle, and one of the Basilean ships is headed straight for trouble. Turn 3 wind roll coming out, and it looks like no change. The wind continues to blow from the east and will activate the gun brig first. We'll need to take a nerve test here. It's a skill test on a 5. It's a 4, so that's a fail. That ship is going to surrender to the nearby Hammer Fist. Now you take those tests when the damage of the ship is higher than the ship's nerve value, and if they do not pass, they surrender and take no further action. The Hammer Fist reduces its speed to steady, would still hit the gun brig, so they will pass an evasion to get around that and will move forward. The next priority goes over to the Blood Runner, and they are still tied up with the Eloi, and they have a crew strength of 3. So rolling the dice out here, looks like that 8 is going to cause 2 damage. In close combat, all of the damage are worth 2 unless you do a critical, and at that point it is 4. The Eloi will strike back, and they have a crew strength of 4. The Brew of Strength turning that 9 into a critical, so 4 damage there, plus 2 for the 7, 6 in total. The Eloi decides to stay engaged with the Blood Runner and will attack using that crew strength of 4. And there's a critical and 2 hits. That will be 8 more damage onto the Blood Runner, and the Blood Runner will retaliate with a crew strength of 3. All of these are going to hit, and that is going to be 6 total damage returned. The other Eloi activates, still moving at battle speed, moves up 5 inches, and then he is going to unleash broadside cannons into this Hammer Fist. With a base of 6, close range within 3 inches, making that a 5. Looks like 2 of the heavy cannons in blue hit for 4 damage, and 1 of the light cannons in red hit for 1 damage, 5 more total going on to that Hammer Fist. The crew then takes a skill test trying to grapple the Hammer Fist, and they successfully pass this on a 5 because the ships are both medium, the same size, they align to each other. Now the Eloi has a crew strength of 4, and because they grappled this turn, they need 5s, and it looks like they will get a critical that goes through. That's going to be worth 4 damage and 2 on the regular. The Hammer Fist will strike back, and it looks like they're going to get a critical hit as well as a regular hit on this 6 damage in total. Now the Hammer Fist is over their nerve value, so they will need to take a nerve check at the end of a boarding action. They end up failing that. That means that they will surrender. However, when activating for their turn, if they're engaged, they will still fight. They don't land any hits. Their crew strength has been cut in half due to their surrendering and the crippling of the ship. The Eloi strikes back, and he's going to continue to lay on some hits here, getting 4 more damage from the critical. The Panther steers right into the island and rolls up for test. There's no evasion here. He's going to take all the damage associated with these dice, which is 11. He can then pivot slightly to miss the island, and his activation will end. And that brings us to the end of a very quick turn 3. And it looks like that Blood Runner is tied up in the middle. He is losing that battle against the Eloi, and the Hammer Fist on the other side has already surrendered to the other Eloi. As we start the next turn, the Hammer Fist on the other side drops anchor, begins to turn, and then we go ahead and do this combat with the Blood Runner. He is going to get a critical and a few normal hits to go through, doing some damage to the Eloi. The Eloi, of course, strikes back, has more dice, and he's going to come back with 4 damage. That will put the Blood Runner over his nerve value, and he will fail his nerve test and surrender to the Basilean forces. And with only the Hammer Fist left, the Orc captain has decided to set sail into the sunset with prisoners of a Basilean gun brig. The Basilean forces, of course, destroyed an Orc bomb boat and forced the surrender of a Blood Runner as well as a Hammer Fist. So the Basileans are going to take a victory today. Feel free to let me know in the comments what you thought about this game. Let me know what you liked, maybe what you did not like. I'm sure that we got several things wrong, but there was a lot that we learned from the game as well, such as the movement of ships. And, my son learned very quickly about how to position the ships to where they don't bump into each other as much. I'm sure there was a lot of things that we could have done much better to make this game much more interesting. But, of course, I would love to hear your feedback down in the comments below. Thanks so much for watching, and we will see you in the next one.